Welcome back, welcome in, welcome all. Episode 9 of the Like That podcast with who else? You know, the same three faces you've seen the last 6 episodes. Nico, Nick, Brooklyn, saying my name in the third person. I don't know if I've done that last time, but
You're also first, you dick.
I feel like I've always done it first. I'm talking first. But
Yeah,
how are you guys?
usually.
A little aggressive today.
I mean, I can't be, too happy after last episode's predictions. Like, how am I now? I guess I'm all right, but man, the Bills, they make me upset sometimes, multiple times this year.
Only multiple.
Yeah. I can't get a pick of the week or a pick of the week right. I just can't fucking do it. I pick Carolina. They just lose to the Saints of all teams. It looked like a good pick on paper, but Bryce Young just didn't perform the way he should.
I mean, you're talking about of all teams, and then Carolina losing to the Saints. Of all teams, Miami or Buffalo not only didn't cover the spread, they got whooped by of all teams Miami.
And everything that Miami did against Buffalo was something I thought they were going to do against Baltimore 2 weeks earlier. But I guess that shows. It's football. But shout out the Lions. Another easy pick of the week for me there. Continuing that win streak, now up to 5. But in other news, just talking outside of the podcast, big trade deadline for most fantasy leagues this week. And on my lunch break today, I sent out like 4 major offers. I'm the number 2 seed. It's a year 1 dynasty league that both Brooklyn and Nick are a part of. And I tried to make an offer for Bucky Irving. Brooklyn shot it down, even though the health concerns are there. I thought there was going to be a little bit more, but instantly rejected. But I ended up trading Ricky Pearsall and 2 future firsts for Rashi Rice, which I've had 3 league mates tell me that I overpaid a shit ton, and I'm happy. I'm content with it.
I mean, with the state of how your team is in this league, and for context, Nico's 8-2 in this 12-man dynasty league. He's basically going all in. I mean, it could bite you in the butt. Ricky could develop pretty well in San Fran, but I mean, for right now, I think it was a pretty good trade.
Ricky and
I wouldn't say you overpaid too much. I mean, you what was it? You just got Rice back straight up.
yeah, just Rice, 2 firsts and Pearsall.
I mean, but the picks that you traded too. I mean, you're 8-2. I mean, your pick this
Yeah.
year is not gonna really mean
You're
anything.
not. Yeah, the picks that you gave them aren't necessarily
I
going to
hope
be
so.
like the crazy picks, but
We still got another 4 weeks of the regular season, but the receiver room is now Jamar Chase, Drake London, and Rashi Rice. So with the running backs not being too great, I mean Josh Jacobs has been really serviceable. Ken Walker's been making me pull out my hair. But I think I said after the trade that if those 3 can just keep doing what they're doing, and Ken Walker can give me if he hits 10, I'll be smiling. That's all. But Charbonnet's taking more.
I don't even have a QB. At least you have receivers.
I drafted 3
Davis
QBs.
Mills and I got Marcus Mariota.
Davis Mills and Mariota being a current fantasy league quarterback duo is just one of the funnier things I've ever heard right now.
You're
I started them last week and I put up 170. So I mean, it goes to show. I don't know.
Yeah, you're talking about QB1 on the week last week, Davis Mills. Let's not forget.
I know.
Yeah, how much did he have?
32.
Unreal.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
Well, you saw crazy performances. I mean, you saw Taylor nearly go for 50. HN had over 40. It's just some overall. I mean, Drake London also had 3 touchdowns. I forgot.
Yeah, as a guy you played against both Taylor and HN, not in the same game, but 2 different leagues, that was great. Just getting worked by both of the top running backs of the week. Right.
In a 14-man league, I have Caleb Williams and Drake London, and they combined for like close to 70. So that was really exciting for me. But as we talk about this, we might as well just jump into kind of talk about it as we go through the games. Not a crazy amount of buys this week. Only really seeing the Colts and the Saints, which it made with the matchups we have this week. This I say it on every episode that like wow, this week was tough, but man, this week was tough.
Yeah, it was hard. There was a few players that I had to go around and switch, and Brooklyn and I, there was a game, we'll talk about it when we bring up, that we literally couldn't find a player. Like, it was hard to pick one.
Yeah. Oh my God. The only positive I took away from last week was the Jets covering. Everything else, like across the board, we were kind of on the same page for it, and like I was kind of just like really happy to be like, yeah, the Jets, they pull it off when I need it, but like everything else for me was fucking ugly. So,
I cannot say the same for myself. I had my best week on the podcast last week. I went 10-4 on my picks, bringing our current totals for the year. I take a 2-game lead. I have 45 correct spread picks out of 80. Crazy that we've already talked about 80 games on this podcast.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and both Nick and Brooklyn sitting at 43. So that puts our percentages. I'm at 56 and a quarter. Nick and Brooklyn both at 53 and 3/4. So because there are so many picks. I mean, obviously, if we were all just so different on every spread, I think it would almost be worse. We're putting in all this work. We should have some similar ideas. So that's why it's been narrow all year. Like each week it could flip. There's a very good chance I could finish in last, especially with how confused I was trying to pick all these. Like just sitting here like an hour before the pod, I've been going through the spreadsheet. I think I made like 4 changes. My pick of the week I entirely flipped. So not even just saying like, hey, I don't trust them as the pick of the week. I just said, you know what, I'm out on them. So it's crazy. But with all that being said, let's start with the first headache of the week, the Thursday night game.
first heading.
I say headache.
I mean, as a fan, it's not really a headache.
Yeah, if you're a Patriots
It's
fan,
great.
I mean the Jets facing the Patriots. The line opened up at 10.5. I saw it go as high as 13. Went back down to 12.5. Over under 43.5. And this is a Jets team that I almost took Browns last week as pick of the week, and you saw a Jets team that scored back-to-back kicks, a punt return and a kick return touchdown. And I think they finished the game with less than 100 passing yards, I believe.
Pretty sure.
And
Sounds about right.
they held their own to a certain extent against that Browns defense. Again, I think Cleveland didn't necessarily play horrific, but yeah, Justin Fields 54 passing yards, and one of those being like a 40-yard reception to Breece Hall out of the backfield. So a team that can't necessarily throw. The money has been very much in favor of the Jets. Short week, obviously, and New England traveling from the Bucks. But with that all being said, all of us are on New England. Even seeing the money going all like pretty sided on the Jets. I can't trust a team that has a pretty bad, just everything, and a Patriots team that's on fire. Like, I don't know. Were you guys worried at all taking this pick or no?
No.
Overall, no. I mean, I just think the Jets every week are playing out a complete desperation, and that can just cause some kind of, some kind of games, some plays to drives to really not go as you might expect. With a team that literally has nothing to lose right now and just to do whatever they can to salvage any part of their season. So I still think the Patriots hopefully deck them, but at the same time, like that's why it's like the Jets, like nothing's on the line, so they're just going they're going out there and having fun.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they got nothing to lose, and to lose means nothing more to them at this point. But they obviously want to win, so I think that it can be kind of sporadic in that way, but not enough to push it to the Jets.
I kind of have to agree with Brooklyn here. Also, I mean, this Patriots team has won their last 8 in a row. I mean, they've been a better team on the road than at home. Granted, their first 2 losses of the year came very early on in the season at home. I mean, obviously, week 1 against the Raiders, that was ugly. A Steelers loss that probably could have been a win, should have been a win. But besides that, I mean, they've been able to keep this win streak going on the road. They've looked good on the road. Short rest week. Yeah, they had a hard-fought game in Tampa Bay, but I mean, a short week against the Jets. I don't know. I mean, this offense has been clicking. It looks good. I know there's no Ramondre Stevenson out, so Travion's probably going to get the start again. They have no Kayshon Boutte, but they didn't have those guys last week, and it didn't really matter against a really solid Bucks defense. So even if they don't cover 12.5 now. Even if we have it at 10.5, I still think that they'll be able to pull out a win at least by 2 scores, at least by 10.
Well, we need we need 11 at 10.5. I know the lines changed, but
Well,
I input these every Sunday, right, as quick as I can with the lines. So we sometimes it helps us, sometimes it hurts us. You'll see on a couple of these later on. But players to watch, both you guys taking the hot hand and Travion Henderson, 14 carries last week, almost 150 on the ground, scored twice. And Vrabel came out today saying that he should be getting, quote, a big load. Raise those eyebrows.
Shout out Big Load.
that's a pause right there.
Shout out huge load coming at Henderson.
And I'm taking Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's gone 3 consecutive games without finding the end zone. Jets have not been necessarily great at guarding anything, but especially tight ends.
And
And
get a huge load from Vrabel.
Henderson's going to get a
They can't
huge
guard big
load,
loads.
but
He's
Henry's
gonna get a
going to
massive load.
Henry's going
apparently.
to put a massive load on the Jets defense. That's what I think.
All right, now we move on to the next game.
Next game, please.
Veered
Next
off
game.
course real quick.
Sometimes the transitions are so tough. We're talking about
We're gonna see a
loads.
massive Patriots load on Amazon Prime tomorrow night.
I hope
Travion
so.
Henderson's gonna get a massive load from Mike Vrabel.
But yeah, now another 9:30 start for everybody on the East Coast. Washington technically traveling to Miami, but they're both traveling. This game's in Madrid. I know all those everybody out there has just been itching to see Marcus Mariota and Tua sling the rock. But a Commanders team that is 0-5 in their last 5 against the spread. They've allowed the most passing yards in the season. Obviously, they've taken a lot of L's, but in those losses, their opponents are averaging 31 points per game. Whereas the Dolphins, surprising win against Buffalo last week. They're gaining a little bit of offensive traction, I would say, in their last 2. Dolphins, I don't know how much you take this into account for how many games they've played, but dating back to 2007, they're 1-5 in international games. Most recently, 2023 against the Chiefs, they caught an L. And lines at 2.5 in favor of Miami. Both Nick and I are riding with the Dolphins. Brooklyn, you seen a little bit of like a bounce back here with the Commanders, or what was the notion?
I can't honestly say like I see like a bounce back like win for anything, but I think both defenses are just so not great. But Miami, yeah, they put on a crazy clinic against Buffalo last week, but like I think that was they had to play hard for that game. And I don't think they're gonna kind of bring that same level of intensity just against a Washington team that they know is much weaker than the Bills that they had to try to play their best against. I think both teams, Miami has a step up on offense for them, with a functioning quarterback, maybe not half of his brain, but, still is a quarterback. But, Achane coming off a great week, Waddle playing pretty well. But I also think, Washington, similar to New York, is kind of playing in desperation mode to both save their head coach for one, because this has just been a horrible season for them so far. Yes, with injuries being a big part of it, but there's just I think there's just a lot of unpredictability here that could cause this to either not be within a field goal win, or sorry, for Miami to not cover by a field goal, or for a possible upset. Mariota's gotten plenty of reps now with this team already. And I think that the momentum isn't entirely out of Washington's favor going into a game like this.
I agree. I'm leaning on Miami mostly just because injuries are killing this Washington team. It looks like they're not going to have Terry again. Obviously no Jaden Daniels.
I might drop him from fantasy, man. Fuck.
Deebo Samuel was like the only shining light in fantasy last week in that blowout loss. He had only 12 points. He got in the end zone. But other than that, there's really nothing there. Deron Payne's not going to play. He got suspended. He's serving a 1-game suspension, so that's a massive hole in your D line. Going up against Achane, who not necessarily, I wouldn't say, he's utilized in the rushing game, but more so passing game. We've seen it, but last week still 225 yards. So, I just think this offense has a chance to kind of replicate what they did last week, especially against that surprising win against the Bills. I think they can capitalize on it, and I agree with Brooklyn about they're trying to play for Mike McDaniels. McDaniels is basically playing for his job. They can go a little bit on a win streak, maybe win a few more division games. He'll keep enough momentum, but I like Miami. especially with a small 2.5 line. Yeah.
I was honestly saying for both sides that their players are playing for their coaches' jobs at the moment. And of course, McDaniel like is definitely on the hot seat with like the roster that he had. I mean, granted, you know, Dan Quinn is as well, but injuries have plagued both teams in that respect. Like Tyreek getting hurt. Interesting thing though is like ESPN analytics has the matchup 50-50, actually 51% chance to win for Washington. And I've seen a lot of simulations out there right now that keep this real close. Mine system has this game as a tie, 27-27 finish. So I'm not honestly sure, like stats wise, what is pointing out that Washington has a chance to actually like win this. But I like the fact that they are literally playing to play right now, and that sometimes can produce some of like the better games out of teams.
I mean, it's two bad defenses. You got a Washington team that's just really old and just really hasn't been able to guard, anything. And a Dolphins team that, we saw Jalen Phillips go out the door. And yeah, they handled the Bills offense pretty well last week. So I look at two bad defenses, but I think that the Miami offense does have a little bit of an edge here, especially with how bad the Commanders have been against the pass. And yeah, Achane is the best player in this game. Take that into account at all. But players to watch. With that said, funny enough, I'm with Brooklyn on Marcus Mariota, scrambling quarterback. Like I still have faith in Miami to take this out at -2.5. But Mariota, as Nick has said on his starting him in fantasy, he's been viable. He's been doing it with his legs. So I think that if you need to start this week at QB, I think Mariota is going to be a good option there. And Nick, I'm kind of surprised seeing Ollie Gordon there after Achane's monster week. You think he's going to get some more reps?
Yeah. No, I mean,
Why not?
I mean,
Okay, why not?
we've seen in past weeks, Olive Gordon's gotten a few goal line touches. I mean, and especially if this is a game where the offense is really clicking and they go up big. I mean, I could see him probably getting a few touches. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily if it's like a really injury riddled team you have and like he's the only running back you got. Like, sure, matchup wise, I could see it, but that's just a play to look out for on the goal line.
Yeah, fair enough. Stealing carries from Achane owners, you're going to get some people mad this week, but.
I mean, he had 45 last week, so I wouldn't really worry about it.
Soundboard still not yet implemented into the podcast, but if there were, you would hear a nice little sound. Maybe I don't know what would pop up yet. Still in development. We got a pick of the week.
Pick of the week is little sound.
Maybe a big sound. What do you guys? Yeah. What would you do for a pick of the week like sound as an announcement? Like would you do like
a nuke drop?
Yeah, like pick of the week, something like that.
Fair enough.
Shit, I think we got it.
Yeah,
we don't even need the soundboard.
I can do it every time.
It's got to be consistent. Same exact sound every single week.
All right, pick of the week, Nick. Take it off.
All right, so game I'm picking for my pick of the week: Tampa Bay at Buffalo. The line's -5.5, leaning towards Buffalo. However, I'm taking an underdog here. I'm taking Tampa Bay +5.5. Right now, total's at 49.5. I just actually checked. 55% of the money is on Tampa to cover 5.5. This Tampa team, especially with the injuries that they've had, they've kept it pretty close. I mean, that Patriots game is still very close. Tough loss at home, but rated 5th best defense according to PPF this season. They're 3-1 against the spread as underdogs this year. Baker in his last 10 games, even with the injured receiving room, over 2,300 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, 3 turnovers.
3 picks.
Tampa Bay, 3 picks.
Fumbles included.
3 picks. No.
Then it probably looks worse, but.
Right. Yeah. Whatever. Defensively, this Tampa Bay defense has been pretty good at getting to the quarterback. They are 12th in QB sack percentage. Buffalo, I mean, Josh Allen, he's been sacked 20 times this season. He averages 2 sacks a game. For Josh Allen being, the line, he's going to be able to get out of the pocket and be able to run, but I don't know. I like this defense. They looked really good against Drake May. They were able to get him. They kind of limited him in the pocket. They made him have to throw. But May has looked really good throwing the ball all season. And this Buffalo offense, I mean, receiving, they haven't looked that great. I mean, Dalton Kincaid didn't practice this week. He has a hamstring injury. Shakir was limited. And last week against Miami, they looked really rough. James Cook looked pretty tough on the ground, especially against a lacking Miami defensive line. Injuries wise for Tampa Bay, Hassan Reddick didn't practice. Godwin was limited. Bucky Irving's just might not play this season. There's no time of overturn. But Rashad White, though, he's been pretty good, stepping up. 87 attempts. He's had 384 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. And they've utilized him a little more in blocking. And he's actually been pretty good this season in run blocking. Weather-wise, too, they're likely saying snow showers. This game is in Buffalo. So
As we know, snow showers in Buffalo, that could be 2 inches or 2 feet. So
It don't
Yeah.
snow in Tampa. That's
But
why.
that's true. But I mean, I like this line. I think it's going to be a very close game. I mean, we've seen Buffalo; they've kind of looked really rough against pretty good defenses, especially going back to that Atlanta game. That was pretty tough for them. But who knows? I mean, they could definitely come back looking for a bounce back win against an embarrassing loss. But I still like Tampa Bay. I mean, they also came on a pretty rough loss. That division is they're still pretty strong. They're pretty strong in the lead. I mean, Atlanta's not necessarily right behind them, but they're still have a talented team to make a run. So I'm going with Tampa. I'm going with the dog here.
Well, Nico, I'm gonna go to your exact point of, you don't really bet against your team. Um,
Well,
that alone is, a big reason why I swing for Buffalo here. But at the same time,
that is just a fancy way of you saying I'm biased. That's just.
well, I
that's
mean,
just
of course I'm biased, but here, I'm coming on with another part. I know it's kind of a coin toss, week by week for Buffalo, which version of their offense that you're gonna get. Um, Yeah, that's a real ugly game against Miami. It started to rain in that too, alongside. Just Miami put together some plays, especially a bunch of Waddle long passes that were just unexpected, should have been expected. But you're looking at Tampa Bay right now, who's quite banged up on the receiver side. I know Igbuka's been playing solid. Kate Otton's been a decent target for Baker, but they're still without Bucky again. Godwin not playing this weekend, and Mike Evans, of course, done for the season. Buffalo is at home in a game that they know they kind of need to show that they are still a team that should be considered dangerous right now. I like -5.5 for the sole purpose of I think that James Cook has a bounce back week coming back from that game. That was not in the cards there, and the whole Bills offense knows that they need to step up there and definitely improve that receiving game, but just kind of show that they are a team that still should be considered for a deep postseason run. So I think this is kind of a statement game for them to come out and kind of right the wrongs from last week.
This is the first time in like that history where a pick of the week was the only, or was the how do I phrase this correctly? The only pick chosen by that player, the minority pick of the week, I should say, because Nick took Tampa,
Yeah.
and yet both Brooklyn and I are on Buffalo. I think this is a pretty obvious get right game for Buffalo. Let's not act like 2 weeks ago that they beat the Chiefs in a pretty commanding fashion. I know it was a one-score game, but it seemed like they were kind of controlling that whole game as we knew it. You get rid of the Falcons game, and they are undefeated when they've been, the spreads favored them at 6 or less. And yeah, at home, I think especially after a big ass whooping last week, you saw Josh Allen kind of try to attempt too much of too many hero ball plays, in my opinion. Take your check down. I know you're the closest thing to Superman that we have on the football field, but I think that there were a lot of empty plays left on the field last week, and yeah, Baker looks good on paper, but especially watching last week, I mean, he had 2 very, very interception-worthy throws that were dropped by New England defenders, and there have been some interesting questions that he's also made under pressure. So yeah, defense for the Bills has been shaky this year, but I think at home, especially if the snow comes into play, I made that joke about it doesn't snow in Florida, but I think that a Bills team playing in the snow. I mean that's home field advantage to a T.
Baker played in Cleveland. Let's not forget that. Come on.
It's been a while.
This-
He's getting used to that Florida weather,
I was
man.
gonna say, it's been a while. Carolina, then down to Florida. He only went more and more south. Like,
All right. You go to,
And
you
then
go
went
to
to Los
Carolina.
Angeles.
Yeah, you're going to Carolina.
yeah, he literally just chased. He chased 70s and
Maybe
up.
Baker's afraid of the cold. Players to watch for this week or for this game. Brooklyn's on Tez Johnson, who's been kind of establishing himself. Oh my word, as like kind of that wide receiver 2 with all the health problems they've had in that receiving core. Nick talked highly of Rashad White, and that's going to be his player to watch this week. Even though he's riding with Tampa here, and mine's a little silly, mine's a little funny. I'm starting him this week in fantasy, so I believe it. Kincaid out. The Bills' offense really has thrived through the tight end position, and I think Dawson Knox is going to take that production this week. So
Yeah. I don't think that's too silly. I think that's pretty realistic. That he's definitely in line to fill in. And Knox himself, people who watch the Bills know that he's a solid tight end to hold down a starting position. He may not be Kincaid, but he's, he and Kincaid kind of used to split reps when Kincaid was still developing. So that's a solid pick.
yeah, he's projected 6 right now in sleeper. I'm hoping I want to see 10, maybe 11.
That's good.
That's awesome.
But yeah, a little bit of a dark horse pick. Moving on, my almost pick of the week that I then entirely flipped the other way.
Are you gonna go Pitt?
I was gonna go Cincy, talking Bengals at Steelers, -5.5, now up to 6, and I really want to take Cincinnati here. I mean, we've seen this exact same scenario earlier this year. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. It was still -5.5 in favor of Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati won that game. We talked about the Browns last week having the number 1 ranked defense and the 32nd ranked offense. You look at Cincinnati, the last 3 games, it's the exact opposite. They lead the league in points per game at 33.7 in the last 3 against the Steelers, Jets, and Bears. But with that said, they're number 1 in opponents' points per game in the last 3. I think it's somewhere around like 39. Crazy shootout against the Bears last week, of course. That was insane. One thing I found interesting or a couple of things about Pittsburgh is their win line right now is at 8.5. So they don't have too much wiggle room for the rest of the year. They still play Baltimore twice. So I think there are going to be some tough matchups in the future. And this is the 3rd game that they are favorites of 4 or more, with 2 of those games being against Cincinnati. Every part of me wanted me to think that Joe Flacco sweeps the Icy Hot Bowl this year and goes 2-0 against Pittsburgh. But that Pittsburgh defense sometimes may be good, sometimes maybe shit. But right now it looks good. And the Steelers' offense, from my eyes, has been quite putrid. But there's no easier get back on offense than the Bengals' defense.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I kind of went with Pitt here too. Pittsburgh's coming off a bad loss against Los Angeles, of which offensively they couldn't do a thing. But they had their defense showed a standing against Indianapolis, which of course was a big statement win for them. Just so happened to be my pick of the week again, so fuck that. But at the same time, you're going up against Cincinnati, yes, in a game where you kind of got to get back on your feet here. Against the Bengals line of all people, and of course they kind of they had that big that shootout earlier in the year. A lot of things to learn from that game, and I think Mike Tomlin was a very well respected coach, and in a situation of which he's got the tools on defense to have a very solid defensive just core. It's all about now learning from how did you get burned by Joe Flacco earlier this year, and patching those holes, and I think the same questions have to be asked for now offense. Aaron Rodgers and co. You guys haven't been able to move the ball, especially last game. What went wrong? What do you got to do better this time? And they have some weapons too. You can't discredit, the talent that they have on that offense.
I mean, like your grandfather's replica, or not replica, but his pistol from the 1960s. It's a weapon. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
You could carve out a stick in your backyard and make a spear. It's a weapon.
Yeah. He hasn't been awfully all that bad. Last game was real bit rough against the Chargers defense that also sometimes shows up or doesn't. So I think it's also like how we saw with Buffalo. It's just a big statement win or statement game for them. of saying, hey, we're top of our division, we got to show why, and a really fucking ugly division. But no, I like Pittsburgh's defense right now to kind of have that comeback against Cincinnati. I'll say Nick's logic here. It's the revenge game, so I think it is in a big way for Pittsburgh though.
Well, I like your logic, but I'm actually going against my own logic here, and I'm on Cincy. Um, you know, it really is an ugly division, but this is both of these teams coming off really. I mean, Cincinnati's loss was just heartbreaking, and I was the only one that took them in the spreadsheet last week, and they fucked me. So I'm doing it again this week, and hopefully they don't fuck me twice. But um,
2 weeks ago.
Pittsburgh just 2 weeks ago. Sorry, Pittsburgh. Oh yeah, I forgot they were on bye last week. Pittsburgh just Sunday Night Football. They did not look great at all. Aaron Rodgers did not look good, and I know you already mentioned that offense looks putrid, but this division is wide open still. I feel like. I mean, Pittsburgh's kind of had some tough losses. I mean, Cincinnati, especially now they've elevated Joe Burrow. He's back. He's practicing.
Well, yeah,
So-
maybe week 14, depending on where they stand.
I'm not, yeah, and I'm not saying like they're gonna rush him back, but Cincinnati's in the position now where if they can get a few more wins, at least one more divisional win, they're in a good place. If Burrow does come back, they can win out this division, and it's a narrow race, especially between these three teams and Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. I mean, their records are pretty bad, but it's tight between the three, and I just like the Cincinnati offense so much better. I mean, Flacco has just looked great since he's been there, and I mean, I think they're gonna come out swinging. I don't think, and if they don't win this game, I still think it's gonna be close. I don't know, but
It's tricky.
I just can't. I like Flacco too much to not.
Well, Flacco has shown that he
so
can score, but it's the
He
defense
can, he's
that is
just so
worrisome.
good. The defense is bad, and it's another week without Trey Hendrickson, so obviously that's going to be a big loss. But you know,
Yeah,
I
big offensive game.
going with Sid-
All three of us are taking Bengals offensive players for our players to watch. Both of you guys on T. Higgins. Kind of really, with Flacco, they're really saving his fantasy season. I went with Chase Brown. Last time these two, going off of that Steelers game from the past, he had almost 10 yards of carry in that game. Had over 100 yards for the first time this season. So it really depends on, I think, the Steelers' defense on how we see this game. But with all that being said, I think Steelers take it. But moving on to another game that we've already seen this year, Panthers at the Falcons. Falcons favored at 3.5. Ugly over under, not the lowest of the game of the year or of the season or of this week. Excuse me. Wow, season, week. I just went all the way down. But at 42.5. And this was a toss up because we saw the Falcons get absolutely ass blasted against the Panthers with a nice little goose egg earlier this year. And at the same time, you're looking at an Atlanta defense that looks pretty good. 5th most rushing yards allowed, fewest passing yards allowed in the league right now. Against a Panthers team that they made it known that the offense won't be pretty, but you're talking about how the fuck do I rank a team? You go out and you beat Green Bay at home, and then you lose to Tyler Cook and the Saints.
Yeah. Yep. Tyler Cook.
I am the only one in favor of Carolina here, just because we've seen this exact script with Carolina where Bryce Young doesn't necessarily have to be good for them to win. If Dowdle's playing, which I know right now he has a little bit of a quad issue, but that run game has really been their bread and butter. And this is an Atlanta team that Penix I'm just entirely out on as a legit franchise QB. He's struggled, especially under pressure, and Drake London kind of bailed him out against Indianapolis last week. But Carolina's defense has been good, and I think a combination of that and their run game is gonna prevail over the Falcons.
I'm on Atlanta here. I mean, first of all, after last week, fuck Carolina, not taking them 2 weeks in a row. But besides the point on that, realistically, Atlanta, that was a tough loss to the Colts last week. I mean, don't get me wrong, they looked good all game. The offense looked like they were finally clicking. I mean, Penix looked amazing, but will they be able to replicate that 2 weeks in a row? I don't know. And especially, I mean, last time these two teams faced each other, it was a 30-point loss. So, I mean, not necessarily that wasn't all from Carolina's offense. There was a lot of, defensive touchdowns that happened in that game. I don't think that happens again. Crucial division game for Atlanta, like I mentioned before, like Tampa Bay going up against Buffalo, who's still one of the top teams in the AFC. So if they're able to get a crucial division win, I mean, that sets them kind of up to start making a run. But, I like Atlanta covering 3.5 here. I know you did mention that Bryce Young doesn't have to play well for this Carolina team to win, but I do think that the defense is going to step up, and I just think Bijan's going to have a field day.
I like Atlanta, in this matchup for the sole reason of I think their defense is going to completely be able to plug some holes for Carolina's offense. I don't think, I think Rico, while he's going to get his touches, I don't think he's going to have that big of a breakout day going up against Atlanta this week. Penix wasn't great. Hasn't been great all season. He's been inconsistent. But the one thing that they have been able to rely on most of the time has been their defense. Now I will say Penix, I think he went 12 for 28 last week.
Yep.
Wasn't exactly the prettiest game for him. But yeah, Bijan, Algier both bolstered a huge workload there. I think Drake London got his plays for sure. Very limited in terms of the receiving department for Atlanta, but again, their defense is the one that shows up against a team that has an offense that's really not that strong. In Carolina, I know Indianapolis ran over them, but they are an 8-2 team against a 3-6 team. So I like a little more of an even matchup here with Atlanta's defense kind of favoring them a little bit more to help them cover that spread.
Carolina this year has not lost back-to-back games against the spread. I know they're 6-4 right now, but have
always a time.
Have gone back-to-back. Yeah, you are correct.
There always is a time.
Players to watch of this game. You guys both mentioned Algier. The Falcons, it's not a running back by committee, but they've shown this season that if the run game is working, they can give Bijan a couple breaks here and there, and Algier can take some carries. He's been pretty
big goal line guy within the 20. He's been a big guy for them, just like Kareem Hunt for the Chiefs. Guy who's gonna Charbonnet very much so. Yeah, big. Definitely he's literally the go-to guy within the red zone. Of you give him the ball a bunch of times, he's bound to get you that much closer to a touchdown, if not right in there. So big Tyler Algier fan when it comes to who I like on the Falcons, as you might know.
Carolina
Tyler Algier fan.
Carolina offense, not too many things you can root for, but I do think my player to watch is it's not flashy, but Rico Dowdle has a good game. Panthers are gonna win. Talking a crazy week for the New York Giants. They're having Green Bay come to town this week. Line opened up at 7.5. Now we're looking at 7. Giants, no more Brian Dable. No Jackson Dart this week with a concussion. It's nuts. I'd love to be in that locker room, to be honest.
It really makes me wonder what you're thinking, man.
Complete side note:
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the clips of Cam Scadabo's streams?
No.
So he's been streaming, and again, I know I'm pretty vocal on him being a crayon eater, and everything just proved my point more because he's on his stream and he asked chat how you eat a taco. Like, normal hard shell taco. He asked do you let the taco dominate you? Exact verbiage here.
Why?
Because he says, do you
What?
turn your head to bite a taco, or do you turn the taco? Like, do you give in to the taco, or do you make the taco tilt for you?
How much does he make?
More than us.
With all that
More
being
than
said,
all three of
though,
us.
I will say I do get
you tilt the
dominated.
taco?
I get dominated by a taco. I'm not spilling that out. I will tilt to try to keep everything in the taco.
I also might get dominated by the taco. How do you dominate the taco?
You tilt the taco instead of your head. You
Why would you do that? That's like,
ask Cam Scadabo.
is he a taco dominator?
He said he doesn't get dominated by tacos.
Does he let the crayon dominate him when he tries to eat the crayon, or does
No
he
way.
crayon.
No, it's probably like pretzel sticks for him. I don't know.
In ranch, carrots
Does he
for
at least
ranch.
does he tear the paper off before he eats the crayon, or does he eat it with the paper on?
Yeah, maybe
That's
adds a little bit of
gross.
texture. I don't know.
Mm, flavor.
But back to football. Giants, no
Once again,
Dart,
what the hell are we talking
no
about?
Dable. We're getting Jameis Winston for the first time this year, which is so exciting.
Hell yeah.
I love J-Mo.
Love it.
Green Bay Packers, two very very bad games. If you're talking about this Packers team that a lot of people thought were a Super Bowl contender.
That Monday night game was awful.
Ugly.
The first half.
Ugly.
Ugly.
It's hilarious, man. It was so funny to watch.
Back-to-back losses at home against the Panthers and the Eagles. 20 combined points in those two games. Shout out Panthers defense. But with that being said, they are 1-6 against the spread when they are favored by more than 6 within the last 2 seasons. So with all of that, I'm actually riding the chaos of the Giants. Like, you know the meme of the dog in the house where it's on fire and it's just like, this is fine.
Yes.
Like that's what I think the
Yeah.
Giants are right now. But I think
They are.
7.5. You saw that it went down to 7, so clearly there was some traction there on the Giants. But yeah, the Packers, I expect them to win, but the offense hasn't shown that it can cover by over a touchdown, from my opinion. But both of you think this is just a bounce back for Green Bay.
I mean, yeah, you just saw the game. I mean, first off, Philly's a much more competitive team than fucking the G-men and the G. Like it's yeah, Green Bay's coming off a game right now where their record now is kind of in jeopardy compared to what you just saw their offense not do on Monday. And I think this is a great chance now against a now Giants team that's probably falling apart in the locker room because they don't know who to look at for leadership right now. And it's also now a great chance for Green Bay to have another statement win of just like, okay, you saw us kind of shit the bed against Philadelphia, but we are still a capable team now. This isn't great for Jordan Love right now. The situation that he just got put in after the unforgettable crossbody throw against Carolina, and then just that shit show of a performance against Philly. But again, you give Philly their credit for being a competitive team, and then the Giants are not, especially against a team like Green Bay. I think it's just going to be complete domination of kind of an angry offense, pissed about what they weren't able to do against Philly. Yeah, I don't, and they're home. They're home too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how New York possibly keeps this remote.
Or sorry, no. They're on the road.
They're in New York.
Yeah, Giants are at home.
Okay, I still don't think
They're at
that
MetLife.
I see a way for the Giants to keep this remotely close without Scatabo, without Dart right now. He's not playing either, right?
Yeah, no, it's Jameis
yeah.
Winston, baby.
So, oh my God, it is Winston and Wandale Robinson, like that's and Tyrone Tracy. Like, God forbid, that game just needs to not be
Theo
there.
Johnson. All of the Theo Johnson stock just went down because Dart's.
But Jameson could throw it 50 times.
He could. He definitely could. I'm also on Green Bay this week. Yeah, that Monday night game was ugly. Like, the offense just couldn't do anything. Josh Jacobs, I'm pretty sure he had 20 carries and averaged like almost like under 4 yards per carry. Like, it was rough. It was pretty rough. I don't see, especially on the run, in the run game on the ground, I don't see them replicating that twice in a row, especially against this Giants defense. I see Josh Jacobs having a bounce back week, and I think that's what they run off of, regardless of Jordan Love's performance. But defensively, I mean, yeah, Micah Parsons is gonna have a fucking field day on this team. I mean, like I really don't see, especially new head coach starting with the backup quarterback. And I don't know. I can see the traction on the Giants, but realistically, I see Green Bay covering by 7.
It's the most excited
I
I've been
can't.
for a Giants game this year.
I can't see.
Yeah.
I can't see the Giants covering this at all. I like they are a team that, with no, they got nothing. They've proven nothing right now.
I
And
mean,
now
with Dart they've proven some
random-
things, but
Well, yeah, but no Dart. So the problem is now you don't got Dart. You don't got a head coach that your team has had the entire year so far, and you just got thrown into a game against a Packers team that should be one of the better teams right now.
Who was a Super Bowl contender after the Mike?
But let's not act like Green Bay. Again, we've talked about the Aster classes that they've come off of. Like this isn't necessarily a good like they haven't been playing good ball as of late. The defense has been looked pretty good, but they can't move the ball offensively. And yeah, I like the stat of they haven't covered large spreads.
But let's look at the game against Philly. Like that was a game of defenses, and Devonta Smith got a Hail Mary touchdown. When I say Hail Mary, I mean like something finally happened in that game. But like late in the game there. But that game was so defensively played the entire time, and now you throw a shitty Giants offense against a Packers defense that knows their defense just played well and their offense couldn't execute. And I don't know, like I really don't think the Giants are going to put up over like 14 points.
Hey, but Carolina didn't have to. Like Packers couldn't score, and Jameis gonna sling it.
Carolina's probably got a better defense than New York.
I think Carolina has, on paper, a much better offense than the Giants do going into this game when they went up against Green Bay, respectfully.
I mean, both bad offenses, but the tension here just fires me up. I'm the biggest Giants fan of all time now.
All of a sudden, no dart, and you're like, let's
Have
go,
fun
Gino.
with that. No, go ahead. Have fun with that, dude.
I will. And you know what? If the Giants win, I'm gonna find the closest thing possible to a cheese head to wear, or if they cover for next episode, maybe I'll just like tape a box of cream cheese, even though it's more Philly.
You just want to replicate when I took them to cover against Denver. You just want that. You want to be right so bad.
I'm number one right now, dog. I've been right. Again, if we had a soundboard, this is where a nice little sound comes in. Not a nice one, actually. It'd probably be a little stinky.
Wait, players to watch.
Oh, yeah, players to watch. Sorry. Myself and Brooklyn on Christian Watson because everybody else in that receiving core is dead. Something we didn't even touch upon. Dobbs, Golden, Kraft.
No, Dobbs practiced fully.
Oh, well, there was some injury woes earlier. Maybe it was Wicks that it might be out the rest of the year.
It's Wicks.
Yeah. So
Wicks.
If not Watson, then who? And if it's not him, then I guess it would be Dobbs, according to Nick.
What's up with Jaden Reed? He's been on IR since like before the season.
Well, because he was playing through he's playing through a foot injury and then broke his collarbone, and he said, "Well, if I'm going to be
exactly an easy thing to just rehab from, like you know how much impact your upper body takes on a tackle."
Well, it wasn't just that. Because once he went down for the collarbone, he's like, well, kill two birds, one stone. Might as well get surgery on my foot as well. But Reed is expected to come back before the end of the year.
Okay.
So they'll have something to look forward to.
That's just someone that I feel like I haven't heard about all year long.
Well,
and I knew he was on IR, but I just haven't heard anything about him making a comeback. But all right.
All right, soundboard noise, fart noise, gross noise, flush the toilet noise. It's poop game of the week. And it's only fitting that the Titans are playing again. Titans were out last week. Man, what's the poop game of the week?
When the season's over, we should do a tally of how many.
I was gonna say how many poop games of the week were the Titans.
It's either Titans or Browns that are the favorite.
This is 3 for them now?
Someone could definitely backtrack it while I yap. That'd be quick though if you got the notes open. But yeah, we're talking Texans at Titans. Opened at 8.5. Now it's 6.5. That shocked me. A lot of money went in on the Titans side to cover this. And again, I talked about how I made so many switches earlier today before I logged on. Yesterday I was on the Texans. For maybe about 30 minutes, I was on the Titans. Coming off a bye, that's usually a positive sign for a lot of teams. And as much as it pains me to say, they did cover against the Chargers at -10. And then I remembered the Texans defense, and I remembered Cam Ward and the turnovers, and he could get eaten alive. So I flipped. Surprise, surprise. None of us are on the Titans. We're all on Texans here. Davis Mills is going to be starting again, but we saw a QB1 performance last week. Maybe it's lightning in a bottle, but I think that you could maybe not even put the offense on the field and the Texans win this game.
That's a crazy take. Cam Ward, he kind of progresses. I'll tell you that.
Well, also
Um,
before you make that, the reason I say that too is because the Texans defense has scored the most points out of any defense in the NFL this year.
yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you there. I think this game is gonna be just jack shit for the Titans. Like I don't see what they're gonna be able to actually get moving at all. Versus Houston, Stroud, is he in line to play? I think he's still trying to clear concussion protocol, but
It's looking like Mills.
okay. Even if it's Mills, he's riding a momentum boost from last week, against a Tennessee defense that isn't great at all. And of course, that offense can't keep up with a good Houston defense. I don't think there's much else to say, other than the fact that the Titans aren't really going to be able to do anything against Houston, and just with the pacing of a football game, I think that Houston's going to easily just be able to maintain pressure on offense, and it's going to be quick 4-and-outs for Tennessee throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah. You know, first of all, last week Titans spread probably the craziest sweat Nico and I have had for a spread pick so far this season. Just with the fumble 6, remember at the very end of the game? Oh, I think you were gone before you missed it.
Oh, you're
But
talking Texans game. I thought you said
Nico,
Titans.
I think that was you and I.
I was taking Texans.
Yeah, Texans
No, it was
Jags.
it was you and I who actually
yeah,
had
last
money on
week.
that, I think.
Yeah, we
I-
had money.
I
But
had-
in the spreadsheet. We had Texans.
I also did take the Texans at -1.5. I did make
Yes,
that
I
as a
did
play,
too.
and then
Oh, right. I
they-
just took them as a money line.
they scored to take the lead, but statistically they had to go for 2 to tie against a field goal. They don't get it. They're only up 1. I'm upset, and spreadsheet wise, I'm also upset because it's at 1.5. Brooklyn thinks he gets his layup, and I go to take the dogs out, and I get it, and my phone blows up, and all of a sudden the Texans covered.
Yeah, it was insane. Coming off of that insane win last week, I think especially against this terrible Titans offense, Texas defense is gonna have a field day. I mean, Davis Mills did show that he can still do it. Especially, I mean, Jags defense looked pretty good last week up until the final 2-3 minutes of the game. This Titans defense really has nothing positive to say about it. Nico Collins got really good production last week. Jaden Higgins too. So I mean, we've been praising a lot of this defense, but I do think also that this offense is gonna continue the momentum that they had last week against this bad defense.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the players to watch, and it's, Brooklyn on C.J. Stroud if he plays. You're taking Jaden Higgins to, work off of last week and that production that he had. And I'm trending, with Woody Marks. I love a good RB1, and his, last week really showed that he is, separating himself from Chubb, even though Chubb in small amount of work was actually pretty good. But taking most of the carries, bad team, when in doubt, especially if Mills is playing, I think it's going to be a good game for Woody Marks. And I know everybody thinks loves to hear my voice as I'm talking through most of this, but it's my pick of the week time, which through this podcast, this was the toughest week for me to pick game of the week. The game that I was leaning towards originally, Brooklyn snagged right before I could claim it myself, which credit there.
Man, I gave you many chances to take that game if you wanted to.
I know. I let you have it. But I'm talking the Bears at the Vikings. Vikings are -3, and I'm taking the Bears. As underdogs on the road, of course. But we're talking about a Bears team that has won 6 of their last 7. Cue the hand motions. Nobody actually. Yeah, thank you. I needed one person.
6, 7. No.
7, 6, 7.
5-2 in that against the spread in those games, and this has been a defense that really scares me. And to be honest, most of this pick was made off of Caleb Williams playing as well as he did, kind of being the main focal point for the Bears last week. I mean, obviously it's the quarterback, but he had to do a lot to carry that team through that. And at the same time, I think McCarthy's really struggled. There was a tweet that I saw. Talked about J.J. McCarthy has faced 22 situations of 3rd or 4th down and short, 3 yards or less this season. There's been 1 fumbled snap, a defensive offsides, but there have been 6 called runs, 5 of 6 converting for firsts, 14 pass plays, 0 completions. Thrown 2 picks, 4 sacks. So there's still a lot of worries with McCarthy as a QB. They've kept games close against the Ravens, and obviously that game against the Lions. Shout out Nick's pick of the week. But with that said, take the hot
What was
hand.
that for? What was
Just
that for?
I just gotta mention it. Like it was an important game we discussed. But
Yeah, whatever.
with that said, I'm gonna take the team that's got all of the momentum, got the better quarterback, versus a Vikings team that should be a lot better, but I think McCarthy does hold them back a little bit. All of us on the Bears kind of thinking the same way. Anything we want to add here?
Not really.
No. I mean, the only thing that does concern me is how good this Vikings defense is, like, based off week to week. I mean, there's some weeks where I think that, this D line's going to be able to not let up a first down on the ground, and they'll let up over 100 yards on the ground. So it really just depends on how they're going to come and play. And I mean, against against the Lions when they were, underdogs by 8.5 points, they came out and won by 2 scores. So I don't know. It really just depends on how this Vikings defense is going to come out after the first quarter, in my opinion. But I mean, I like the Bears here.
I still want to take another shout out to that game that I went to, the Bears Ravens game, because, for my friend and his dad, his dad being the Bears fan, first time ever seeing the Bears play in real life. And of course, if over a 7-game span, this guy went to the 1 loss. That's upsetting.
That's really tough.
But with that said, my friend got to see his first ever Ravens game, got a Ravens win. So to take that with
Tyler
what
Huntley.
you will. Yeah, no Lamar. Sadly.
Not even with Lamar.
It completely threw me because I had Bears all the way there. But jumping back to Week 11, another +3 here for a home team, or excuse me, well, home team was -3 for the Vikings, but you know what I mean, close enough. Talking Chargers at the Jags. Jags as the underdogs at home. Where did I have this? Yeah, 8-5 at home against the spread the last 2 seasons. So it's a team that has at the beginning of the year looked really nice. Last couple weeks, maybe a crash back to reality. Kind of want to shout out from the Sunday night game how PFF just kind of shit on the Chargers O-line. I know we were talking about
Hilarious.
that.
Oh my God, Nick, do you know what we're talking about?
No.
So,
Oh my God, when they were doing all the intros, like linemen introducing themselves, it showed their PFF rank, and all of them were the last
Oh.
player at that position. Like it literally just basically said, if anyone
Really?
knew to read PFF, that the entire Chargers offensive line is as bad as it can possibly be.
That's not great.
but the Chargers, led by Justin Herbert, a very good defense so far this season.
Yeah.
And a lot of things lean Chargers, but I you talk about those when you look back on a season, you're like, what the fuck happened in that game? With the line being this close, I do think that Jacksonville kind of can take this victory. I'm on them for the reasons that we saw this team at home against the Chiefs as underdogs. They pulled out a win there. That was a combination of a run game and a defense, and the run game so far has worked. ETN's been exceeding expectations, I would say. And I see this as another bounce back opportunity for the Jags. I talked about them as a dark horse for the AFC, and I think we're well past that at this point. But I still don't think that they're a bottom team in the AFC by any means. So you saw the Chargers really struggle against a D line of the Steelers, and Jacksonville they've done a good job pressuring the quarterback. So I lean Jacksonville, but I know both of you guys are on the Chargers, so I want to hear why.
Yeah, I'm not gonna speak in favor of the Chargers covering spreads and succeeding in a betting format too much. I think this line is like thin enough to a point where I think a field goal makes sense, and it could possibly go over a field goal. I'm still not putting money on this, my own money, because they fucked me way too many times. But I'm looking at the Chargers, who, in schedule wise, haven't exactly had it completely easy. They beat Kansas City week 1. Vegas, that wasn't much of a threat, but they also beat Denver. One of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league, alongside beating Minnesota, who we just talked about, that their defense is pretty good week to week. Granted, 27-20 against the Titans was a little shocking, but also against Pittsburgh, a defense that is supposedly good on paper before you really see them play. they haven't had exactly an easy schedule alongside, Herbert's been having to play behind this really weak line for weeks and weeks and losing Joe Alt literally like a week after you got him back, but then still being able to, win three straight kind of just shows that that offense is very dangerous. In a similar way of you saw how their defense shut down Pittsburgh. Granted, we know Pittsburgh's, defense offense hasn't been, anything special at all, but it's a really stingy team of which their offense typically shows up. And if the defense can afford to actually show up as well against a Jags team that, I wouldn't say is crazy dominant in any way, I don't think this really goes for Jacksonville.
Yeah, I agree here. I mean, looking at the numbers, I mean they've scored 29 points against this Texans defense, but you know, 9 of those points came from field goals and a punt return. But like offensively, I mean Trevor Lawrence didn't really look good through the air. 23 attempts on 13 completions, 158 passing yards. Threw for a touchdown, also threw for a pick. I mean, ETN exceeding expectations, but 58 rushing yards on 16 carries. Got it into the end zone, but averaged a little under 3.5 yards a carry.
To be fair, he had, I think it was 4 or 5 carries on the one, and he did not score. So that definitely hurt the YPC.
That's fair.
Sorry for pointing
that's
at you,
fair.
but
No,
I'm adamant
okay.
about the Jags this week.
It's okay.
I mean, dude,
But I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
on paper, no, you're fine. I mean, on paper, it looked like they were able to really hold their own against this Texans defense. But I mean, fourth quarter alone, they let up 6, 12, 18, 21 points, 21 unanswered points to this Texans offense. So, yeah.
Yeah, not only were Jacksonville may have been one of or leading the league in interceptions, a couple weeks ago. If not, I'm not sure where it stands right now. But T-Law hasn't been good, and
I agree.
the Jags haven't been able to get really much of anything going for in the win column. Like, yeah, they beat Kansas City in the first week, but then lost to Seattle, got destroyed overseas by the Rams. That overtime thriller against Vegas, of which is that kind of a team that's are they sort of playing in this like similar levels here? I don't know, but I don't think if they go up against the Chargers offense that's been as explosive as the offense has been able to consistently as well, with T-Law struggling as much as he is. He's got a QB rating average for the season 41.9. He's the 28th worst quarterback ranked for passer rating. I don't entirely see, like, unless Jacksonville's defense really makes a statement here, how their offense is going to be able to really get much going.
Yeah, I'm believing in the run. Plain and simple. Good defense, run the ball. I want some good old fashioned 1950s football on my screen on Sunday.
Oh God, no! Bring back the helmets.
Players to
One
watch.
bar in front of the face.
Forgot to mention last game's players to watch. So doing that quickly. Brooklyn on Odunze if he plays. Or Nick taking Luther Burden. I kind of like that, especially with if O'Dunes doesn't play, then there's good opportunity. And
Or
I think
DJ Moore either. He didn't practice.
he's got that dick problem.
No shoulder problem this time.
Oh,
I think he got off the gas station pills. Thank God. But
I'm taking Aaron Jones because since coming back, he's been pretty reliable out of the backfield, both in the receiving and rushing department. Players to watch in the Chargers Jacksonville game. Brooklyn's taking Ladd off of a crazy game of not too many receptions, but a lot of yards. The only big play I think we saw in that game. And then Nick and I taking newly taken off the IR Brenton Strange. Much needed receiving help for this Jags offense. Jumping now to the 4 o'clock games. It definitely has to be the game of the week when you're talking about most entertaining narrative wise, and that's Seahawks going to LA. Rams favored by -2.5. Line is now moved to 3. And this is a Seahawks team that has been absolutely rolling. We're talking about, I think they're winners of 7 of the last 8. Every week we're talking about it. Last week, do the motion, 6-7, 5-6 the week before. We're just praising this team every time we can. And now you're looking at a Rams team, 5-1 against the spread at home in their last 6. Stafford's really moving the ball well. Most likely won't have Devontae Adams, most likely should, even though he didn't practice today.
yeah,
this
McVay Mountain said he'll be good to go, probably.
Not gonna lie, for how close this game will be and for how tough Seattle has been, I didn't put too much thought. I didn't have too many worries picking the Rams is what I should say. Both Nick and I on the Rams. Brooklyn taking the Seahawks. I thought I put this in here somewhere, but I don't. I must have put it in the completely wrong spot. But I looked up last season. Obviously, Darnold had a great year with Minnesota. Minnesota on the road as underdogs were 4-4-1 against the spread last year. And this is definitely going to be the toughest task that Darnold has faced this year. So I'm confident in Sean McVay, top 3 MVP voter Matthew Stafford. So I'm trusting the home guys here in the Rams. But I want to hear Brooklyn talk about the Seahawks.
I think it's a very even game in so many ways, and sorry, where am I going with this? In the way that that the Seahawks are currently on a roll with a Rams team that has also equally been on a crazy tear just with consistency. Both teams, funny or not, or believe it or not, are 7-2 against the spread. Both of them on the road. Seattle is 4-0. So they've been able to come in and really deliver, especially when it's in a hostile environment. Now JSN's been on a crazy roll. I do believe the Rams, for injury report wise, Devontae, I'm not sure if he's looking at playing, but he was questionable. I know he got injured last week with something working in his oblique. And right now, I think Darnold's just been so dialed in recently. They have a good 1-2 combo with Walker and Charbonnet. LA does have Kyron and, obviously Puka. Higbee's also been kind of a threat that they've been going to a little bit more frequently. I think this game's going to be ultra close. And just in terms of the scoring aspect, I just think they're going to go kind of like tit for tat. Or if not, it's getting brought, even closer because, their defenses are very even. If you look at the stats, don't have it right in front of me, but looked earlier, they're pretty neck and neck in a lot of main categories in terms of yards allowed, points allowed per game. Like it's such a good matchup that it's kind of impossible for me to really lean heavily towards one way. But I'm gonna go with Seattle here just because of the momentum that they've had. Cooper Kupp revenge game. But also, but also, yeah, no, they've been on a roll equally with the Rams, and I just think that Seattle's defense might be able to kind of force them to make some mistakes if Devontae Adams doesn't play.
Yeah, I'm riding with Nico with the Rams here. I don't. This game's very close. I really wanted to take Seattle, but I mean, since their loss against Tampa Bay, they've looked good. I mean, they've won their last 4 by I believe 2 scores. I mean, I know there was 2 games they won by 8, but other than that, they beat the Saints and the Commanders by almost 20. But those are 2 very bad teams. And like you said, this will be Darnold's first big test. I think McVay is just a coaching genius. 2 predominant teams in this division, but I think the Rams take it.
And I think it's interesting though because you've seen the Rams defense perform and shut down some bad offenses, like Tennessee. Houston hasn't exactly been anything crazy. Baltimore without Lamar. Jacksonville with that game was ugly as hell in London. I think that was London. New Orleans. This is also I think a big test for the Rams.
What about the Colts?
Right now. That's why I skipped over. That's why I didn't mention that. But that game was close, 27-20. But with that being said, I think this is one of their. Also, that was still fairly early in the season. A lot of teams currently have either momentum going for them or not. Both teams right now have a lot of momentum going their way. I think this is right now probably their biggest test of the season for the Rams as well, for their defense to still prove themselves.
Players to watch. Brooklyn's riding with Zach Charbonnet, my number 2 hater in fantasy football right now, as I love Ken Walker, and he is not getting the love. But Charbonnet actually, for once, had a good game on the ground last week. I'm flipping the other side. I think no Devontae Adams. I think they're going to have heavy involvement with Kyren Williams. And Nick's going to ride the, again, top 3 MVP voter, right? Verbiage there is wrong. But Stafford's having an MVP
top
season.
Top 3 ranking. Yeah, he's ranked top 3.
I'm just too much word jumbling going on. But yeah, gonna be the best game. Hopefully, I'm excited for that one. Can't say the same for the following one. We've got 2 very injured teams. The 49ers traveling to Arizona. Cardinals at home, underdogs at +2.5. The line has now moved to 3. I think this is the most optimism we've seen with Brock Purdy, but I'm not gonna guarantee anything that he's playing this week. Even then, whether it's Mac, whether it's Purdy, whether Pearsall is playing, I still like San Fran in this matchup. Just because I think this Cardinals offense is way too beat up. Marv is out for the year now. DeMarcado didn't practice today. I know Nick just wrote that in. So that's crazy for a running back room that is heavily
I
depleted.
think Cam Knight's hurt too, right?
And Trey Benson should be coming back soon, but I don't think it's this week. So this is a very injury riddled offense on both sides. And with that being said, I'm gonna take the head coaching matchup here, and I'm gonna pick Shanahan.
Can't bet against Shanahan, right?
You are.
Yeah, no, I know. I'll keep this real quick. I'm kind of taking this for the sake of going against the favorite here, and of which the 49ers defense has also just been so banged up. It's gonna be an ugly game, but I also don't think it's gonna be really that high of a scoring game. I think Arizona will keep this close if they can just kind of contain McCaffrey. But both teams are just ugly in every direction. So
Battle of
no
former
true-
New England quarterbacks. If Mac Jones plays. Mac Jones versus
If he
Jacoby.
does. That'd be awesome. That'll actually be awesome. That'd be good. I'm also with Nico on San Fran. I mean, yeah, as good as Jacoby has been, I just think this offense is way too beat up for him to really try to pull off an upset here.
With that being
I
said,
don't laugh
too,
at any injuries, but looking at the injury report list for 49ers and Cardinals, Niners have 4 names. Cardinals list just goes down and on and on and on. It's like, oh my God. No. I'm sticking with Cardinals here, hoping for an upset.
players to watch. Both Brooklyn and I taking Trey McBride because again everybody's dead on that Cardinals team. If you're desperate for a start this week, I think one of Michael Wilson, which is Nick's player to watch, or Greg Dortch. I think either one of them could.
I forgot about Greg Dortch.
They're both are gonna find targets in some way. But I think most of them should be going to McBride. Moving on, we've got the Ravens traveling to Cleveland. Line opened up at 8.5, now 7.5. Could be snowing in Cleveland. Slippery fields here for two teams that are heavily relying on the run. Lamar did not practice on Wednesday, the day we're recording. So that's obviously worrisome there. But this team showed against the
Knee
Bears.
soreness, apparently. That's what Harbaugh came out and said.
He should be good.
He said it was knee soreness and he'll be fine.
Yeah, I also read that he's going to be okay.
Everybody here on
But I
Baltimore.
put it in there for reference.
Cleveland, yeah, it's a tall task. And to be honest, the offense didn't look bad against the Jets. But again, a Jets defense that is, what the fuck, best way that I could phrase it. But not too much I want to add here. I think Baltimore runs the table for the season, to be honest. That's kind of like my biggest take of I'd say biggest hot take of this episode. 8.5 is a tall task, but I'm not gonna praise a team where that's the 32nd ranked offense anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's even if there's snow, I still think it's going to be a murder.
Anything,
Boom,
Brooklyn?
boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was already ready to move on.
Nice. Players to watch. Brooklyn's hoping for Mark Andrews to find the end zone because that's just how it works. Just a little. You're gonna find some curl route in the back of the end zone and see 89 come up with the ball. Nick taking Zay Flowers, and I'm taking David Njoku because he came back last week and he took over the target share that he's dominated since he's been there. Really random tidbit before we go on Njoku. He was talked about during the trade deadline if he was being moved, and he's like, no, I love Cleveland. He made it abundantly clear that he does not want to leave Cleveland, that he wants to stay with the Browns. And I thought that was kind of cool. I thought it was cool.
That is cool. That's one positive thing that the Browns front office has been able to do. Keep a guy that wants to stay for the organization. Especially after all.
Chime in,
the shit
Zale.
they've done.
Yeah, you could now you could do your soundboard, Brooklyn. Take it away.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. there's not as much pop as I had the first time. I was really ready. Um, Hey, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah, it's time for my pick of the week because I've just been on such a hot streak, as you guys know. But I'm looking to come back in a big way for this week. I am looking at the game that is honestly should be on most people's radar as a very, very competitive matchup. Chiefs at Denver. I think the line right now is currently at -3.5. Weather-wise, slight
Plus
chance of some
plus 3.5.
showers. Sorry, +3.5 in favor for the Chiefs. But slight chance of some snow showers, of which I don't think and ultimately that's going to change too much. Total right now is set at 43.5. Injury wise, Pacheco, we know, did not practice and likely not going to be playing. So Kareem Hunt going to get another look here, but he's also been a fairly reliable, like, within 20 guy for them when they're when within scoring range. He's been a guy they give the ball to for just those reasons, especially goal line stuff. I do want to highlight real quick, and Nico, thank you for the stat. Last 3 games for the Chiefs, including the loss against the Bills, points allowed is right around 11.7 average. They have allowed the least amount of points within the last 3 games, of course, with a shutout against Vegas. Denver does rank 5th there with 15.3. Under Andy Reid, Kansas City's record against the spread is 13-6 after a bye week, of which obviously Kansas City now coming off of a bye. Injury wise, Denver, Dobbins, do we know if is he out for this week?
Doesn't look pretty. I don't think they ruled him out, but it's
good.
not leading his way.
Well, we know Surtain's not going to be there, and that's obviously a big hit for a large part of their passing attack. I look at Denver right now, and I truly think that they are kind of a fake 8-2 team, in a way where their last 7 of 8 wins have been against teams that are below 500.
Quick interception here. J.K. Dobbins, a reporter posted saying, quote, "I was told placing him on injured reserve is being considered."
Oh, that's
Yeah, he got hit. He got hurt on a
Hip drop,
Hip
hip
tackle.
tackle.
wow. RJ Harvey then.
It's a
But
player to watch. Getting ahead of yourself. Shout out
talking
Mike.
about the last 7 out of the 8 wins for Denver, of which one of the only really ones that you could say hats off to them was against Philadelphia, but the other teams that they beat, Las Vegas, 10-7. We saw that. That was awful. Houston 18-15 win. Dallas, that was kind of crazy too. I didn't think Dallas was gonna be that bad against them. Well, I guess against a good Broncos defense, but Giants, they beat the Giants, they beat the Jets, and they beat Cincinnati. Nothing in that category screams anything compared to what they're about to be going against this week. Unconvincing to me that they're really a team that should be playing as an 8-2 team, and that's just kind of coming off a soft schedule. To me, Kansas City is now coming off of that full bye rest, and obviously a big loss against Buffalo keeps this game a must-win for them. With Denver being the top of that division, I think right now, let's say the season of today, Kansas City's not in the playoffs. So they need to put their foot down in this game to show both that they are still a potent offense as we saw them start to become, and also that they should still be I believe they're still favored as favorites to win the Super Bowl, right?
I at least I know the AFC favorite to appear.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, and so then let's go back to the Denver defense. They've been good. Sacks have been across the board for them, but they are still missing Surtain. And at the same time, Kansas City has, of course, a very potent offense now, getting Rice back, who's in line to really have a breakout second half of the year. This is probably, like I said before, out of the wins that Denver just came off of, this is going to be the most dangerous team that Denver has seen so far. And I think when you're going against Patrick Mahomes, you got to give him his respect and his ability to make plays, to scramble, to just make the impossible happen. Even watching that against Buffalo, he made some crazy plays happen, stuff only Pat Mahomes can do. Now, I looked at PFF from this past week's game for Denver. Out of their 6 best graded players, their only scoring option, who was listed with a half decent rating, this is very average for PFF, was Dobbins, who was rated 66.1, right behind. Oh, sorry, no, I'm jumping the gun there. That being said, now if he's out, that's also a bigger issue. Kansas City now, I want to talk about Kansas City's defense compared to Denver. They're pretty neck and neck, right behind Denver in terms of total rushing yards and also total yards allowed. One last thing before I jump into one last stat that I have is I saw a interview with J.K. Dobbins about the frustrations going on for Denver. That offense has looked so inconsistent in so many ways. And even Dobbins is saying that they're pissed in the locker room because they're not winning games because of the offense. They're being kept in any sort of game because of everything that the defense is doing. So you're looking right now at two very good defenses going against each other. One of them having a potent offense. I think that it's just going to kind of outpace Denver here, and unless Denver can really pull off some miracle, offensive turnaround, Kansas City is probably going to win this by, I think over a field goal easily.
I know on the spreadsheet, all of us are taking Chiefs here. Every Denver game has just been painful to watch. I give credit to the defense for that reason on how they've been dealing with their opponents, but give shit to that offense. It's a great O-line. The run game's been great. I've preached Bo Nix has sucked for 3 years, and last week was the final week where everyone's like, wait, is this guy good? Like, all of a sudden, it was discovered that there's a problem at the quarterback position, as if we haven't watched the Denver team for the last 10 weeks. You could tell, like, in my opinion, I think their second best game of the year was their loss to the Colts. And they, Bo Nix balled out. But with that being said, like, yeah, I think I have no fears about Kansas City for the rest of the year. Like, yeah, I don't know if they're necessarily going to take the 1 seed necessarily for the AFC, but it's an offense that's really started to pick up pace the last couple of weeks, and as you highlighted with the defense, they're right there with it.
Must-win game, especially in this division for Kansas City. I think they know it's at stake. What's at stake here, and I think Denver's a fluke 8-2 team. That they should not be that good.
Putting up 10 points against that Vegas defense is lackluster. That's bad.
That's
really
all. Bad. Players to watch. Brooklyn and I taken newly acquired in my fantasy dynasty league, Rashee Rice. It's boring.
You've picked him like 4 times.
Well, do you know the production that we've seen from him since he's joined? Since he's been in.
It's like a whole new offense. It's insane.
Rashee Rice in fantasy points since he's come back: 23, 25, 18. Seeing 3 touchdowns. I'm not
gonna complain. I have Mahomes in 1 league, so I'm not complaining.
And then yeah, as I kind of spoiled earlier, no Dobbins. This is RJ Harvey time. Very exciting to watch.
And I picked him last week, so didn't really have a lot of production last week, but needless to say, he could this week.
Bitching at me taking Rashee Rice, and we're doubling down on Harvey. But whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heading into Sunday Night Football, my second favorite matchup of the week. I know Rams or Seahawks is going to be electric, but how about the Lions at the Eagles? Eagles were originally favored at 1.5. Lions moved to now 2.5. Injury report for Detroit looks kind of scary. Aiden Hutchinson's a little banged up, but it looks like he's going to play. I think the biggest worry for Detroit right now is Penei Sewell. Shoulder injury that he played through last week. No clear indication on if he's going to play this week. The Lions 1-2 is dogs this season. 4-1 if you go the last 2. It's surprising. It's kind of the same thing that we talked about in last week's, where we're like, why are the books telling us that the Eagles should be favored here? Yes, they're at home, but we've seen an offense that's really stuttered the last 2 weeks. Defense is definitely legit, but I had no hesitation taking the Lions. I don't think, across the board, all of us are on Detroit. I think Philly could, still take this game. Don't get me wrong. But I'm confident in, just in my opinion, the better overall team.
Yeah.
I agree. Last time I took Detroit as an underdog, it was against KC, and they lost. So I don't think that happens again.
You do a really good job. Sorry to cut you off here, but you do a fantastic job sometimes of like saying your point, and then the first thing said after is against your point. I wasn't gonna say anything, but I've heard it like 3 times now where you've like went to go defend a team, and the first thing you say is against your take. But I
finish my point.
I enjoy you exploring both sides. But yeah,
I was saying I don't think that happens twice.
There we go.
Going on again of what happened.
We're going for the same team here.
Yeah, I know. I was saying, especially what we just witnessed on this Monday night game. this Detroit Lions offense has turned it up. I mean, 44 points against the Commanders last week. Jameer Gibbs, you know, had a bounce back week after kind of a quiet game the week before. But he had almost 40 fantasy points last week. Um,
That's who I forgot to mention.
I think this is a prime Sunday night matchup. I think this is an exciting Sunday night matchup. 49 and a half total. So they're expecting some high scoring. I mean, if it's a Lions game, there's always going to be some high scoring. But I just with this Philly offense, you don't know what you're going to get each week, and I feel like it's kind of the theme with a lot of these teams that like the AJ Brown production is just on and off. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the clip today where he was playing Madden and he literally like the guy was like, "Oh, look at your Madden stats." And he's like, "Yeah, these are the best stats you're gonna see of me all year." Like that's like
He told
he's,
fantasy
like-
owners to get rid of him.
yeah, like that's like it's just I don't know, man. Going in against playing the Lions, like that's just something that if you're Eagles fans, you don't want to hear.
I mean, yeah. He's just shitting on himself.
And
Like that's just not great.
But hey, yeah, I love Detroit here again. Like they've just been so reliable, honestly, other than Nick's one pick of the week there. But
Yeah. Yep.
second
Yeah,
stray.
let's bring it up again.
Yeah,
We're
eat
just gonna
shit.
bring it up any single time we can. No, go ahead. It's fine.
but for the reasons of if you look at what Philly just did against Green Bay, they scored or they managed 8 or fewer yards in 6 of 10 offensive series against the Packers. That's
good
ugly as hell.
football.
And yeah, that is ball. That's sports ball right there. And you look at now the Lions, like that offense is so much more lethal than anything Philly's got going on right now. Even with all the talent they have, it's just been such a shame to see some of those names really not get utilized as much as they should be. Dan Campbell also took over offensive play calling duties, and that's worked out great for them so far. Honestly, yeah, no, it's definitely a big. Let's just go with the better team in this scenario. I don't even understand why Detroit's not favored.
Yeah, I mean, on the road, I think there's a slight edge, but I like Detroit here. We all love Detroit.
I think injuries are a big part of it too. There's
Yeah.
just a lot of unknowns going into and especially on a Sunday night game, we probably won't know who's playing and who won't be until Sunday morning.
Our players to watch of this game, Brooklyn's taking Laporta, little safety blanket there. I know Jameson Williams kind of been a little bit more involved in the offense since Campbell took over, but Laporta kind of that safety blanket always in Detroit. And just talked shit. AJ Brown himself said, don't take him. And both Nick and I said, you know what? I think you're gonna have a good game this week. In a game script where I think the Lions are gonna be, playing from, or the Eagles, I should say, are gonna be playing from behind. There's gonna be at least one like what the fuck type of AJ Brown catch. When I say that, it's like either it's gonna be some type of either big play that helps out the Eagles, or there's just going to be a contested catch. Because we've seen Hurts, the deep ball worked to the one time they threw it against the Packers, and AJ Brown was close to getting his own reception there when they tried it, but I think he's gonna explode in this game. But with that said, roll Lions.
Roll Lions.
Monday Night Football, last game for the episode. We've got the Cowboys traveling to Vegas, a line that is at 3.5. Being a little generous to Vegas after stopping Bo Nix and the Broncos offense. I'm so scared. Nobody is. We're all on Dallas. The line was originally at 3. It moved to 3.5. But a Dallas team that, if there's one thing, both defenses aren't necessarily spectacular. The Raiders do have a pretty decent run defense, but Cowboys offense has been a top 10 offense in the league, and a Raiders defense that doesn't necessarily do good against the pass. And with that type of recipe, it's all Cowboys in my eyes.
Yeah, barring anything that we just saw against like what happened with Arizona, Hopefully that doesn't repeat.
Well, Arizona
But
at least like I'd say legit, top 15 defensive unit. The Raiders, I
right,
can't
but
say are the
that was
same.
ugly for Dallas to get anything going. Yeah, and I can't defend Vegas's pass defense in that respect. So I think this is a pretty easy one. That like, if this turns into the shootout we think it might be, Dallas is just going to completely outpace them in terms of talent. Amount of deep plays that they have the capability of producing. Gino's just going to throw it up for the fucking hell of it, but I don't think they can keep up.
I kind
Oh
of like
yeah,
Geno
I
as a
agree.
start this week. Funny enough, just to get Dallas
Don't
offense.
do that again.
Don't do that. Don't say that out loud. But no, I like this Dallas offense going up against this Raiders defense. I mean, it's gonna. I agree. 3.5 is kind of low, and I know it's the Cowboys on the road, but yeah, Monday night prime time. I'm smelling a shitter game.
Prime
50 and a
time
half.
with
No way.
Tickets as
I
low
was
as
just
$301, guys. Would
yeah,
you want to pay $300 to go
Really?
watch
the Cowboys in
that?
Las Vegas. I could see that.
Yeah,
Um,
I could see that too.
I love Dallas
Oh,
offense in every way this week, but I think Pickens, he's been in double digits all season, but has not found the end zone the last 3 weeks, and I think that's going to change this week. Both of you guys relying on Trey Tucker again. I mean, Cowboys defense is going to be pretty free. Is it going to be him or Bowers that takes everything? We don't know yet. But Trey Tucker's put up 40 points in fantasy once this week or this year, so who knows?
Well, he did take a big step up now with Myers gone. And when it comes to like, what is Las Vegas trying to get going, I
He's a
think,
guy that they can develop. He's only
yeah,
24.
I was gonna say,
He,
when it
he's
comes to
shown
what,
that he's shown that he's pretty prominent in this offense. I mean, if there's
yeah,
if there's a time where you need to progress somebody, this is the guy.
I
yeah,
just
very
as a
much.
football fan, I hope we actually see one of the two rookie receivers for the Raiders have a bigger role. Whether that's I think it would be Thornton before Beck, even though Beck was the
I mean,
higher
dude,
pick.
you're 2-7 going against first off a Dallas offense that's likely going to be favored to overshoot you there. But then your next game's coming up are Cleveland, Chargers, Denver, Philly, Houston. Like, and
I
that
think
actually
the
that
Aside
changes at the end
aside
of the year.
aside aside from Gino, it's like your receiving room is like the average age of like 24.
But that's so what I'm saying is that like
Really, really
their
don't.
schedule
There's
coming up
really
is they're
no
playing
player.
some of the harder defenses now,
Yeah.
and if you're 2-7 and you're honestly looking at these games and you're like, holy shit, we may not come out of any of these with a win. Why not just try to start to get the ball to the guys who are going to be here for next year and
Worth
down the line.
noting that the current win total line for the Raiders is at 4.5. With the looking at it here, the over sitting at even odds, 110 apiece. So with only 2 wins, the books are pretty confident that even with that tough schedule ahead, maybe they squeak one out against the
Against
Browns,
3 more.
but yeah, they're expecting at least 2 to make it interesting. But they play the Giants, don't worry. But
That's
our players to watch. Oh no, I already highlighted Tucker and Pickens stuff.
Yep.
That's the week, guys. Felt quick, hour and a half.
Week.
Recapping our picks of the week, we've got Nick taking Tampa Bay over the Bills at +5.5. Again, talked about as the first time a pick of the week has only that's been highlighted. The other two did not follow suit, as both Brooklyn and I are on Buffalo, so a little bit of beef in this Discord right now.
Yeah.
And also
Fuck you guys.
the first pick of the week that is an underdog. Everything else has been favored. To steal the spotlight from Nick, I also took an underdog. Taking the Chicago +3 on the road against the Vikings, and then Brooklyn taking the Chiefs on the road against the Broncos at -3.5. My overall thoughts is, I hope my picks obviously work out well, but this is probably, not trying to discredit, my knowledge here, but through this podcast, this has probably been the week that I have the most question marks. I don't know how you guys felt, but this is
No, I
this is going to
definitely
be a make or break.
there's a lot of questionable lines here. Cincinnati Pitt 5.5 is tough. Houston being favored by 9 when we looked at it was tough. I mean, there's a lot of lines here where like it makes sense, but it's also just like, geez, that's a lot. It's a lot.
Just before we go, just one quick question. Although we are confident in our picks, if there's any of your picks that you think would go the other way, which one would it be?
Any of our picks, as in
your
this
personal
week
picks.
or former picks?
This
oh,
week. This week,
our own picks this week.
yeah, like of your picks, what are you? I would say, what are you least confident in?
Oh, I mean, sorry, you can go ahead if you want.
I will say, I'll probably say the Rams, only just because I feel like that's the closest, aside from Detroit and Philly. That's like that's like really the one that I had the hardest time deciding on, and I'm picking that one strictly off of coaching. But I do think that both of these teams are really, really good, but I could see if Seattle wins this, definitely.
For me, it was Pittsburgh. Take it, I kind of said in the pod that like I was really in on Cincy. Looked a little bit further into it, and script wise, I think it should make sense that it is Steelers. But that's gonna be the one that after if Cincy does end up covering, like I'm gonna beat myself up for. Like last week, that was the Raiders, but I think that's a game that really could go both ways, even though it's 5.5.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna, as much roll Bills, like I am gonna go thinking that Buffalo pick could ultimately come back and bite me, just because that, like I said earlier, like you don't know which version of the Bills you're ever really gonna get on any given week, and that wide receiver core is so inconsistent. Kincaid being out does not help, and you look at Tampa Bay, they've been the type of team that's just always in these games where they're fighting from behind, but they find ways to keep it real close. And in a big game right now, where eyes on Baker to see how he's going to be able to handle. It's Baker versus Josh Allen. That's a pretty cool quarterback matchup, especially for this year. Spotlight's on. I think Tampa Bay could be a team that definitely upsets there. It keeps it either real close or could even possibly upset with a win. But I do hope Buffalo can kind of keep the distance and realize that they kind of need this game as a statement win.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that.
I know you kind of like that, all right? I know.
I kind of
know.
like this podcast. This like that podcast.
You know what I didn't like? When Nico said big load earlier in the episode.
Henderson is going to get a massive load.
He's taking a massive load.
Absolutely massive load.
Yeah, he is.
If you wanted to see all of our picks and not listen to the episode again, even though you should, because what's one more view for us? We love that. But spreadsheet will be posted on our socials. That's going to be at @LikeThat_pod. Make sure to follow us on socials as well. Like I said, every week, we work hard. I put hours into this. We all do. We're making content both on social media and in the podcast.
I personally put hours into this.
We do.
This is almost a part-time job. I'm dedicated to this.
But we've been seeing the love, especially on the TikTok and the Instagram and stuff. And we really do appreciate all the people that have been, republishing our stuff. A lot of it is our friends, but, we still really do appreciate it.
I root for the random comments.
It's no, me too. I mean, it's been fulfilling each week seeing stuff that we make. It starts to gain more traction. So it's been pretty cool. And, I have to say every week the stuff that we've been making has been getting better. So
exactly.
I hope it keeps going that way.
But like that _pod on all socials. Follow, subscribe, rate, whatever you can do to help us out. We are very appreciative.
Drop a massive load on that follow button.
Massive load.
Like 3-inch load.
That's something.
That's too much. That's way too much.
All right. Let's end it. Let's wrap it up.
All right. From myself, Nick, and Brooklyn, we will be catching you guys next week after we've won a lot of money.